chief futurist at Futurist.com, researcher, keynote speaker, and author Nikolas Badminton joining us for his weekly hit here on Canada Now. And Nick, Amazon is devising a feature for Alexa that allows the voice assistant to replicate a specific human voice even after they've died.
Yeah, this is really interesting. This was announced at the Amazon Mars conference in Las Vegas last week, and I had some friends down there, and this sort of hit the press last week. So this is sort of open information. The idea that grandma could be reading your kids a book before they go to sleep, but grandma's been dead for 5 years, is a very strange proposition, Jeff. To be honest.
Yeah. Well, it is. It is. So Alexa will confirm a request with its robotic voice, and then it would switch to one mimicking the human one that you request, producing it with less than a minute of recorded audio. And we don't know when this is going to be rolled out, but I like this idea. I'm curious about how it's going to be used. Like, I wonder if, and you couldn't see your ex anymore, and then you're like, well, I've got audio of the ex. This would be a way that I could not miss my ex anymore. Yeah, and that feels kind of disturbing.
Well, I was also writing down a few ideas around this, and really think about grieving, right? You miss someone and you can't hear them, you can't connect with them, they're gone. And a few years ago, I knew someone, and she'd just lost her father, and she'd kept like 2 or 3 voicemails of her father speaking to her, like at length, like a couple of minutes. Yeah. And she used to go back, and she probably still, I haven't chatted to them for quite some time, but she probably still goes back and listens to these, because, that real representation of who that person was, and they're gone. And, the grieving, it can help with that and whatever. I don't think the ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend thing is really a good example, to be honest, Jeff, but it's interesting with that. But then what I really worry about, and here's the red flag, is it morally right to represent someone? And if you're keeping those relatives alive in technology through code or whatever, who honestly owns the intellectual property of their voice and even potentially their soul?
Yeah, that's right. Who are we to say, hey, we're going to keep this going? Keep you going in some way.
However, and there's something called the Uncanny Valley in robotics, and the Uncanny Valley is when we get a robot that's so similar to a human, there's something not quite right when we interact with it. In fact, it almost disgusts us in a way. It's like zombies are to humans. They're not the same, but they're kind of acting the same in a way. So we kind of got this like voice uncanny valley where it's not quite grandma, and it doesn't feel quite right. And it could actually turn us against those people and disgust us. So this is really strange, moral, ethical sort of grounds to be exploring, to be honest. But on the flip side, and I was thinking about this as well, what if we could use the same kind of technology and we could codify how our brains work? And there's projects called Mapping the Connectome, which is mapping all of the neurons in the brain, and they haven't been able to do it in humans. They've only been able to do it in fruit flies so far, because they're hugely simplistic neural networks, biological neural networks. But what if we could capture the greatest minds in the world and keep them simulated within artificially intelligent environments? And what if you could have those conversations with them after they passed away, to start rationalization of new ideas and whatever? I've been thinking about this for a long time. Wow. So what?
That's amazing. That's an amazing idea, though. Like, imagine Einstein. We could still have access to Einstein's brain.
Or anyone, Stephen Hawking, Carl Sagan, Marie Curie, whoever, right? It's a strange world, Jeff. It's a really strange world. A lot of this is speculative, right? But the Amazon Alexa stuff, that's real, but it's treading a tightrope.
Yeah. Well, and you sent me a story about this woman who rebuilt her best friend who died using artificial intelligence. And this idea was inspired by an episode of Black Mirror.
That's right. I'll be right back, right?
Yeah.
Dom Hall Gleeson, who's an amazing actor, who's in Ex Machina as well. suddenly you create this like representative, and they're better than they used to be in a way, and they're uncannily like, you know, who they always were. But after a while, you just want to put them in the attic and forget about them, and, you know, sort of let your kid play with them once in a while, right? So it ends up being this folly and this like weird sort of marketing gimmick in a way, right? So, you know, yeah.
I wonder, like, is this virtual reality or a vivid reminder of who the person was, given how uncanny the likeness can be? You know, like, is this therapy in the end, or is this a reluctance to accept death?
Well, you know, if we put some ethical, moral guardrails around this, and we think about the use cases, and we think about permission-based access to this, it could be really valuable, like, as you say, from psychotherapy perspective or whatever. But, you know, if we just let it run free and suddenly, hey, I'm going to get grandma to say a bunch of swear words, or, you know, hey, I'm going to do, you know, and it's like, you know, the first things we did at school, as soon as we got hold of a voice synthesizer on a computer, you know, was to get it to say all sorts of
course. Even when we grabbed a calculator, we turn it upside down and type in boobs.
Jeff, you know, well, this is it. Humans, like little boys in technology, right, Jeff? But really, this is, I mean, just this conversation, we've covered a lot of ground. And so this is the encoding of the human soul and the perpetuation of ourselves in forever. Do we want that? Do we want to live forever? I mean, there's lots of people talking about longevity, and I want to live until I'm 130. Why are we craving this? We need to look inwards and realize that we're scared, and we're scared of death, and we're scared of our own mortality. And maybe we need to live every day to the best of our advantage.
Yeah, well, no doubt. But, you know, like, I was thinking that maybe this isn't something we necessarily interact with, but it's more used as something that hears us talking to it. Like, when we think about going to a cemetery and visiting a gravesite, what do? We stand there, we talk to the headstone a little bit, you know, to varying degrees, of course. I know, like, you know, my dad passed away over a year ago, and I'll go to the cemetery, and I would never think to do this, but when I go there, I'm standing there, hey, Dad, things are good. We miss you, Dad. Like, you know, I love you. Like, I'm saying that stuff. No one can hear me. No, but it makes me feel good to have said it, to have gone there, to have been heard. So in that vein, if we could create something that maybe not replaces a gravestone, but for that purpose replaces a gravestone, where your kids can communicate with a version of us, where it kind of takes on our personality and responds in a way that we would likely respond. Maybe there's something to that.
You know what, Jeff? When I get blasted into space and I leave this planet, as we've discussed previously, I would happily have a hologram representation in a place where people can come up and I can just tell them terrible dad jokes, you know? Is it a true representation? But like, it's interesting, right? I think we should patent that idea, and we should start a company called gravestones.com or something. I don't know.
Well, there is like, what was it? I'm trying to remember now. I wish I thought of it earlier, but there's like a gravestone that can, like, it's got a speaker in it that can talk. You should Google it. Anybody out there is listening to this, Google it, because I'm not going to get it exactly right. But there's something there that you can like there's or no, maybe it was a microphone. No, not a microphone, a camera. There's a camera there. I'm sorry. Now I'm thinking about something else. It's a camera that's in a gravestone, where it's like, if you don't want to go to the cemetery or you want to go more often, you can tap into the camera that is in the gravestone, so you could look down at the, well, not in the gravestone, but maybe above the gravestone, so you could actually visit but not be there. Okay, so I'm thinking about something different there. But in a similar vein, it is being there and visiting those that we miss. And by the way, this all happens in technology kind of acquiring our personality based on what we leave behind in text messages and email and social media posts. I don't know. I think there might be, I'm not saying I'm ready to turn the key on it and to do something with that, but there might be something to it.
Right. You know what? This has certainly opened a little bit of a Pandora's box in a way, right? And as we peel back the layers of the onion, or the tech onion, we find more and more nefarious uses for tech, and we find more and more useful applications of technology. Unfortunately, the nefarious uses of technology seem to be more profitable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I fear that technology is going to be used more and more to replace the company of humans, and it's going to lead to more isolation, as if we needed that. We got a taste of that during the pandemic. It's going to lead to more isolation, less communication. And there's all, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a Pandora's box, because I was also thinking, like, what if, Nick, you wanted to have Brad Pitt keep you company all day, and you could use the sound of his voice, let's say,
right,
to keep you company. And, you know, then you'd ask Brad Pitt's voice to do this, that, and the other. And if I'm Brad Pitt, and I've been told I bear a striking resemblance to him, Nick, as you could see, if I'm Brad Pitt, I'm not liking that, because my voice is being used by who knows who for who knows what, to just keep one company. And I'm not sure I would dig that.
Yeah. The commoditization of our very own souls, our very own essence of who we are. You know what? This is going to be big business, Jeff. You know, roll it out. Let's go.
Yeah. I think it's coming. Chief Futurist at futurist.com, researcher, keynote speaker, author, Nikolas Badminton. Nick, always a pleasure, man. We'll talk again.
Chat soon, Jeff.